It's Bear Wood Turner in English. Cool. That's a wonderful thing. I like that name. That's good. So what I have here today, and you can see it in the overlay, and I'm going to pop it to you in the overhead. This is a little piece of resin, and it is filled with gold leaf, easy inlay, gold leaf, and Chromacraft turquoise spin gems. And this is left over from a platter that I did. I used this same material in the inlay. I thought maybe you made a visit to the eye doctor. No, I need to. So this is just a leftover from another project, right? And I've got the camera zoomed in pretty tight today, so I'll be careful what I show you. But this is the mold that that came out of, right? Those little easy, as seen on TV, egg molds, silicone egg molds. They're great for when you have a little bit of resin left over, okay? And you just pour the extra resin in there and you're good to go. Yeah, I may have to make my screen a little bit smaller, Michael, because now I only get to see 4 comments at a time. We'll see how it goes. See if I can keep up or not. But so this is a fun little project, and what I want to do, my plan, I have a project, little things that I do that I call a water splash cup. And I don't know if you've seen them before or not, where I turn the piece and I have a little teeny droplet, like a water droplet that had splashed in and is coming back up out of the resin. And sometimes I make them, usually I think I use a little bit bigger piece of resin than this, but this will make this work. It should be pretty cool in here. So it makes a little cup, kind of similar to, I know this is a little crude, kind of similar to this. Show you here on the end, but where this hole is will be a stem coming up with a little droplet on the end. And I don't have any in person here to show you right off. Brian, you've seen them before. So that's what my goal is today. And then I want to go ahead and sand on it and finish it with Yorkshire Grit, original and microfine. So we'll do a Yorkshire Grit finish on it. I will be using the Easy Wood Tools micro tools today. So just 3 simple tools to do this project. And on that note, tomorrow, Friday, starts Spiracraft's spring sale. And we open it up with an Easy Wood tool sale, 15% off on all Easy Wood tools, cutters, and accessories. Everything but the chuck. So that's the starting of it. That's tomorrow on Friday, and it's going to run for 10 days. It's going to run till the 31st. And I'll be adding in all the other products in the course of the weekend. I saw that go out of focus when I put my hand in the way. So spring sale at Spiracraft, 15 to 20% off on different items. And watch social media, and you'll be getting an email tomorrow if you're on our email list for all the codes and all that. And I'm going to make a page, or at least a banner on the website with the code for the discounts, so you can save some great money here at the end of April. Hopefully you get your tax return real soon, and you can go ahead and pick up a few extra tools and things that you need. Now this camera here, I saw it go out of focus, so I'm going to run into the control room for a moment, and I'm going to check a setting on that. And then we'll start turning. We'll start making strings. Let me check something on this. That's what I thought. My controller didn't lock the focus in. Okay. So that should be good to go now. I'm going to double check it. Just to make sure it stays locked. All right. I love having a control room. Okay. As always, any time along the way you have questions, ask away. What return? What return? Those are so cool. What return? I'm not sure I'm following you, Brian. Oh, what return? Tax return. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I understand. What return? I'm in the same boat. You're not alone. So this piece, I'm going to turn it just over 1,000. It looks like it's about 1,070 on the Nova Saturn, or excuse me, the Nova Nebula. I got the sale on the Nova Nebula. Got 2 left coming in here real soon. And also we have a great sale on the Nova Galaxy. $27.95 delivered, free shipping. Cool deal. Check it out on the website. Anyway, I'm turning 1,070 here. And that's pretty true. I'm in a Supernova chuck and 50 millimeter 2-inch jaws. And I just want to clean this up. So right now it's shiny from the casting. And I tried to use my smaller tool rest, but I couldn't quite get in close enough. So this making it perfectly round is just kind of academic, because this is all going to get turned away. Okay. Now, this is the little CI5, the little teeny cutter on the tool. You can see on the tool shaft it mentions it's a CI5. So this is going to be where my water droplet bulb is. So what I'll do is I'll start working material away here. Again, this is turquoise spin gems and gold leaf, easy inlay gold leaf. It's kind of a balancing act. That's what makes these fun, between how big it is or how small, and how long a stem, and how much cup you have below it. I'm going to cut this one down a little bit more. Focus gone overhead. Okay, let's see if we can fix that. And tailstone, they're both going out of focus? Well, they're supposed to be locked. They should be, they're locked. But it did go out of focus. Let me stop the lathe for a second. Maybe I'm going to have a day after all. And set that focus again. That's definitely out of focus. Should hopefully stay now. Don't know why it went out. And overhead is in focus, but we will double check it. Now if they go out again, I'll toggle it the other way. Okay. Thanks for giving me a heads up that they were going out of focus like that. That's why I have the other monitor there that I try and watch, and let's see what happens here. Hopefully that'll stay. So it's a balancing act. Like I said, that is, we work our way down in here. And then we start making our droplet, and we start making our little teeny stem. Yeah, even at 60 frames a second, sometimes the resin won't stay in focus, but the tool does. Especially when I'm closed in like this. I used to do these a lot out at the woodworking show. Let's see what that's looking like down in there. There we go. Okay. Pretty cool. Now I want to make it like there's a little cup here, okay? So I'm going to work my way down in there. But I want to work on my water droplet a little bit more first. I could make it super thin shaft, but then I wouldn't be able to sand it and polish it. I would have to just put lacquer on it. And I'll try and keep the chips out of there as much as I can. Off of there. And I had this theory this morning that I wanted to make a recurve on the outside of this. I'm not sure if it's going to be big enough for me to do that today or not. So I'm gonna kind of flatten this, give myself a little thickness. Okay. And then I'm going to come in behind here, because I like to make it have a separate stem on it. And again, this is a really small little piece here. You can do all kinds of things with these egg shapes. Little teeny goblets are fun. Okay, that is actually relatively well working. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a standard parting tool, Carter & Son parting tool, which also I'm going to have Carter & Son tools. Those will be on sale in the April sale. So this is going to be the bottom. That's the base of my piece, and then just off of the chuck jaws. Now I'm just making a cut there so that I have a reminder of where my bottom is visually. And it's a good thing that the overhead cameras don't have the, oh, wrong tool. Don't have the chroma key on them. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get, I wanted to have a little recurve under here. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to pull that off today or not, but I'm going to try. And I'll round this over. I love wood turning because they're resin turning, because you just make it all up as you go. So think of it as like a fountain at the same time, if you will. Okay? And the fountain always has a lip where the water flows over. Now one thing I can do is I can use the CI7, the super thin cutter. There it is. Now you can see it. I had it hiding behind the overlay. And I can reach in behind here and kind of open things up on the back side to work on my recurve. Sitting in the Hog's Breath of Key West, didn't want to miss all the fun. That sounds great. I keep grabbing that square tool. I don't know what I'm doing. Why I keep grabbing that square tool. We'll enjoy Key West. It should be nice down there. So using the small detail tool here, like I did, that just makes this tool not work quite so hard. And we'll come back and work on this some more. And I'm going to take a look at my droplet. Okay. So like I said, if I get too thin on this stem, it's pretty easy to break. I've got a video when I was doing one at the woodworking shows, and this cutter went just below center, and you could see the whole ball or droplet, if you will, in the stem flex, and it didn't break. It had been cast the day before, and so it was still relatively soft. I mean, it was cured, but just barely. And you could see this piece flex and then come back and not break. It was pretty interesting to see. And I want to be sure that I'm happy with my droplet, because as I make this stem thinner, I can't do much work on the droplet itself after that. And it's kind of interesting if you look at photography, you know, of water droplets. They actually take on a lot of different shapes. So I'm not convinced that there's any one perfect right shape for them. I'm just taking this size down. A little nub on the end there. Let's get rid of that little nub. So one of the things I really like about doing real small work like this, so I see the tool is in focus, just the resin's not, is you don't have much margin for error. So you have to be really careful. When you're turning a big old bowl, well, I mean, the amount of what I'm doing here is, you know, you got that for margin, and here you don't have that for margin. Alright, so let's stop that for a second and see what that's looking like. Oh yeah. So that's a respectable stem there. Excuse my cough. But I think I'm going to go a little bit deeper down inside here. So, back again to turn my tool rest here a little bit. Coming in with the CI7, the real pointed cutter, to do a little extra cutting here ahead of time, ahead of the round cutter. I'm going to get this in here as close as I can to minimize the overhang, because the spin gem pieces can be a little grabby. And let me let's see if I can flip this force for a minute. And give you a little bit better view of what I'm doing here. So what I'm doing is basically making it an easier access for the round cutter, so you don't get the vibration on the sides. And then we'll come in here and clean it up. Now you can also get fancy if you wanted to leave multiple steps in your piece there and whatnot, but we're not going to. Although there's nothing that says you can't. Okay? So what I'm going for is a nice long stem on here. And you have to keep the shavings out of the way so you can see, to make sure that you're staying in the center. Because if I go underneath there now, if I let that cutter drop underneath, that's when it's not really a catch, but it kind of sort of is. So we're smaller than a pencil and bigger than a matchstick. Somewhere in that realm. Take care, Brian. Have a great day. Thanks for dropping in. Again, working with the micro tools and making your dimensions of the piece really fine really helps with your tool control. Okay, that's pretty good. So the stem is about 1 inch long, if you will, give or take. And, you know, it's just a matter of how far you want to go here. I'll put you back in I'll swap you back over to the overhead. You can see you've got to leave it strong enough to polish, and that's about it. I'm just trying to get it where it has a little bit of graceful shape there. Okay, I'm going to work my way down inside and make my cup a little bit bigger. Where's my brush? There we go. We're clear. Little brush helps keep that away. So I'm back on the overhead there. Okay. I'll show you in view again. Oh, get back over here stuff. So you can see that I've come down in flared, and I've dropped this down in a little bit deeper. We'll stop this. And to give you an idea, we'll take my mask off here for a second. We'll put a little denatured alcohol on here. And that'll always give you an idea of what the sheen is going to be like once we get it polished up. Assuming, of course, that we don't break it. I need to get a little bit more moist there. These spin gems, it really makes a difference when you cut into them with the turning tool to get the look. This is drying super fast because I got a fan blowing right on it. But really pretty down inside there. I know that the zoom's not in real tight. Flip-flop here. Again, that's Chromacraft spin gems, turquoise spin gems, and easy inlay gold leaf. All right, so what I want to do is try and make my little recurve back in here now. I'm going to leave that top part alone. See if I can cut back up underneath here. And I get myself a sip of water. This is nervous work. Because if you sneeze while you're cutting it, especially when you're down here on the stem, I mean, that gives you an idea of what the size is. There's my fingernail, index finger. If you sneeze while you're working on it, you're in trouble. Get off of there. Get off of there. So I have to pay attention to my wall thickness here, okay? And actually that's about consistent. All I want to do is kind of come up underneath this rim a little teeny bit. So I'm going to very carefully stop this lathe for a second. And I'm going to get this thing like this. So I've moved way down here to the end of the tool rest. Get it just off the chuck. And I want to come up in underneath and undercut this lip. Okay? Carefully. You don't have to, but it just gives you a little shadow in there. Keep your cutter clean. Okay, and that's working pretty well. Just enough to have a little relief. I could also, it's thick enough, I think I'll take my round cutter and I can roll this corner over here so that it looks like it rolls around, if that makes sense. Roll that back up underneath. Gives this a rounded profile, because I had a square corner there. Okay, so now that profile is nice and rounded. Stop the lathe so you can see a little bit better. So this profile is rounded over, and I have a little shadow relief, so it's made a lip. I don't have the camera showing you from that direction, but there's a little shadow lip back up under there. And I have a uniform thickness, wall thickness, right down to about the center point just below my stem. So now I can do whatever I want to. Again, this is my base, and I can make this base smaller, which I'm going to, because it's a little too big. If your cutter touches the chuck, you get to or at least rotate your cutter. It would be fun if I can get a nice small waist down in here as well on the piece. That's kind of what I'm after. And you hear it chattering. I think you can probably hear it chattering. So if I come in with my pointed tool, I can make these cuts, these relief cuts, and it will make it easier on my round cutter. Okay, I don't want to go too high up here. Maybe one more. Okay, so can you see that little detail there? So now when I come in with the small round cutter, I should take a little bit more off the bottom here. Not a lot of room to work on this one. Get that out of the way. I've asked EasyWood if they would make a cutter smaller than the CI5 so that you could really get down in here and do stuff. Something about the size of the screw head would be perfect. So now we've got a nice shape coming here. You can see I'll put my hand there for reference. And because the cutter isn't hitting all the way 180 degrees, that's what gives you trouble. When the cutter is touching 180 degrees, they tend to want to vibrate, okay? A little hump right in there so we can clean that up without going through our wall. Yeah, we've got enough material. Okay, so let's take a look here. Oh yeah, and it's kind of interesting. You can see on the end camera there, we have our base is more clear and yellow, just a little teeny bit of turquoise to it. Okay, and then all the rest of it has a lot of turquoise with a little bit, just hints of yellow. All right, and I think I'm safe there. Yeah, I can go smaller there if I can get away with it. And there's my base. I can't go any deeper. I'm almost to the bottom of my base. If I flip you around here, I'm almost down to the bottom side before I've already cut my relief mark. Now I can change that and do something. The actual base that's in the jaws is pretty big still. So a person could, there's a bit to work with there. You could try and sneak it out of there a little bit. And I might try that. And let me flip you back around to the overhead. I do want to go smaller in here. Okay, then come back with the round cutter. Clean up the radius. Make sure we get rid of all of our pointed tool marks. You can see that one little tool mark right down in the stem there. There we go. And that took care of it. Okay. Good deal. That is really close. Okay. So I think I'll leave it like that. My fear is that I've gone a little too far down into here. But nonetheless, we got what we got there. And we may try moving it out. But let me try a little something. Let me see a little something here. The base is a little big anyway. Let me take my parting tool, my Carter & Son parting tool again, which does work great on resin. And let's just change this. I want to get all I can get. So I'm right up against the steel of the chuck. But I want it to be slightly undercut. Alright, it's going to be close, but I think I'll have enough. Hopefully it won't wobble. Alright, so this is so smooth, quite honestly, that I don't know if I want to even sand it. I may just come in with the paste. I think I'm going to clean up the space now. These cuts are really nice. There's one little tool mark right in here. So I'll sand that. This I'm not going to sand. This is really nice. And the inside of this cup up in here, that's really nice. So I will sand right there. I'm going to change the profile on that base right there real quick. And then a little bit of sanding, and then we'll get to working with the Yorkshire Grit. So if I'm lucky, using the pointed tool, because I want to cut this base back the other way. Like I said, it can be a little grabby is the thing. Okay, so I was able to angle that base back in. Oh, I broke the base. That stinks. Right there. Oh, well. Such is life. That's that catchiness of that little pointed tool. But see, I couldn't get my round cutter in here. I didn't have enough room. Okay. So, let's just fix this. There's always a way to fix it. We'll just make the base smaller. Nobody knows how big it was when you started. Always remember that. Nobody knows how big it was when you started. So now the base is smaller. Michael, you and I are right on the same page. Alright, so the base is smaller, which actually it needed to be a little bit smaller anyway. There's maybe still a little teeny divot there. Now that I'm inside here, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to get my profile back. So I'm turning down inside the jaws now, which is a little risky. We got plenty of resin in there. Okay, and I've got my angle back. So now I'm just going to round that top edge over ever so slightly. Okay. So nobody knows that the base was bigger when it broke. Yeah, it looks better. It does. I completely agree. It looks better with a small base. The proportions are much better, without a doubt. Okay. So I was going to sand right there just a little bit. And I think I'll just come in with like a little bit of 280 will probably take care of it. I think I'll bop it back down to maybe 500 or so. And I'm going to put it in reverse. And just right down in here is where there's a little bit of tool mark. And this is 280, I think. Yeah, and the 280 is taking care of that. This is our Endasa sandpaper. This stuff is great. It cuts real even. Lasts a long, long time. It is a premium paper, but it does a fantastic job. And I'm going to kind of just let it follow that profile. All right, that took care of that tool mark in there. And I do believe that the Yorkshire Grit should, and I've got a couple other little projects here too. Get this done pretty soon. I've got this piece that we can put on the mandrel. This is a piece that has been hanging around. It needs to be Yorkshire gritted. So, because this piece went pretty quick. It's shy of 2 o'clock here. All right, so I have the Yorkshire Grit Microfine and Original here. Original's in black, Microfine that they came out with for the resins, and it works really, really well. Easywood purchased Yorkshire Grit last year, and so now we get it through Easywood. It's made here in the States. That's great. This, of course, will be on sale with everything else in the store this week or for the next 10 days. So back to the overhead. All right, and I'll start with the regular. I think I can put these tools away. Do I ever try wet dry paper? I have. Especially I have found, and it works great, don't get me wrong. It's another paper to have around. It does a really good job, but with these grits, working with the grits, they kind of remove that need, at least for these pieces. And quite honestly, I actually often like to put a lacquer finish on, and then I sand the finish. But this grit will do a wonderful job. And that one's got alcohol on it, so we'll get a fresh one. The other system that I have used that I don't have around right now, I mean, I have it around, but I haven't been using it, is a 3M system from the polishing, the Perfected system from 3M, and it's a 3-stage compound. So, and it's a wet sand with their triazic paper, up to 3,000, usually 1,500. 2,000, you could go to 3,000. I would wet sand with that on my lacquers and then polish with the 3 compounds in the Perfected system from 3M. So that's the wet paper that I would use. It's a plastic, the triazic, if you've ever seen that before. It works really, really well. Not your typical black wet and dry though. All right, pop back down here. Oh, and I opened the microphone. Let's use the regular one first. Now, y'all pray that I don't break my little stem. I like to put it on first by hand. And then turn it on. So I get it everything loaded up real nice. This thing is cute. My wife is going to want this one too. She pretty much gets claim to everything that I make out here, especially in the resin world. So just very gently work around the little droplet and the stem. And I basically got the stem between my fingers and squeezing it. And I can feel it smooth up very quickly. And that tip has a little nick on it. So I think I'm going to come in here just right on the very tip and just take that off with the paper. A little bit more to go. It's got a little teeny nip there, or a little tab that's sticking up. There we go. It all went to white. This is a great way to do this because, you know, if you don't like working with lacquers, excuse me for the cough. If you don't like working with lacquers, you know, there's no smell, there's no harmful fumes in here or anything like that. Everything smells really good. So now I'll start working the bottom of the cup. The turquoise is man-made. It's actually polyester resin. Chromacraft makes it over at the plant. They make it in-house. And they make it in slabs of polyester. And when you turn it, you can smell it as polyester. And then they crush it in a crushing machine. And they have, that makes different sizes. As well as they also have what they call a blended. And they'll have different colors and real fine powders. Like they call it gold mine and Tuscan green and granite. Their granite spin gem really looks like granite when you cast it up and then polish it, or lacquer, whichever your case may be. Now, the only thing about this is if it's got that yellow base, and I'm just kind of stuck with that. I mean, I could make it the little teeny base and have it all be the turquoise, if I so desired. And I got a little bit of markup in there. Really hard for you to see. Okay, I'm gonna do a little bit more on the base. Oop. Yeah, I know I'm in reverse. Just a little bit more on the base there. And then I'll go to a fresh towel, fresh paper towel. Always use a paper towel. Don't use an old t-shirt. T-shirt will get caught up and wrap up in here and wind your hand up in it. Don't do that. So, fresh, clean paper towel. And I'll go ahead and take the speed up a little bit just to kind of polish it a little bit more. Like say 750. This all this top feels really nice, all the way around the rim. Michael, is Rich in here today? I hadn't seen Rich drop in. Jeff Peters just dropped in. How you doing, Jeff? We're making little resin things. All right, so that's the Yorkshire Grit Original. And now I'll stop it. And I'll go to the microfine, which will improve the sheen even more. Again, I like to put, you haven't seen Rich. I hadn't seen him either. I don't know how he gets away with working and streaming at the same time. I'm sure he calls it part of his job. Getting ready for AAW. It'd be good to see Rich and Jeff, Michael. We're going to have a good old time up there. We won't mention that they had some shootings or something downtown in Louisville. Been running errands. Got the honeydew list done. Michael's got his plane ticket. Jeff, you're coming down with Derek, right? You're driving down? Trying to reach my fingernail up underneath that rim there. Again, I'm turning about 750 right now. 749 to be exact. The shooting was an isolated incident, aren't they all? At least we're not going to Chicago. Let's see how this is looking. That looks pretty good. I'll show you in from the end, even though it's not quite as tight a shot. But you can see the high gloss finish there. Real nice and shining smooth. And again, this is just scrap resin in a overpour, if you will, from that other piece that I was talking about, which I was going to show you, but if I hold it up in the main screen, it turns into the back wall. One more round here. And then we'll part this off with our fingers crossed, and we'll play with another piece or two, because like I say, it's only 2 o'clock. Maybe we'll have a little more fun. And after I do the second round here, I'll take a clean paper towel and remove the excess. Okay. Clean paper towel, final polish. This thing is looking good. So it was actually kind of a blessing that the base broke, because it definitely does look better with that smaller base. Now it's going to be really small when I come in here, but let's see what we can do. This is when I do wish. This is a 16th parting tool, and I'm not sure if the Sorby thin tool is even thinner or not. And I want to try and angle it just a little teeny bit so that it's not domed, so that it's concave. Yeah, Jeff, one of the things you sent me the other day it wouldn't produce the image, and that may have been it. There we go. So it'll take a little sanding, because I got a little nub, got a little nubbin on the bottom. But that guy, let me put it down here where it's more in focus. That guy is pretty cool. Right, and you can see the nub when it snapped just before the nub cut off. So I'll just take the little die grinder and grind that away. Okay. And that is our little piece, our little water droplet. Again, you can see how big it is. I mean, it's not much bigger than my fingers. I don't know if the end camera gives you a different shot. Let's pop it onto the end camera. It's got to stay in here to be in focus. Pretty cool. And that's a scrap of resin. These little things, people love these. When I would show these off at the shows and stuff, people really like that. Like I said, all I gotta do is sand up that bottom very gently, and we're set. Okay. So that was pretty fun. Hey, my dad's here. Didn't know you were in today, Dad. I didn't see you. Good to see you. So, sorry for my arm there. Let's see. Pop back up here. Again, there's the size of this guy. Little teeny. Needs to get that nubbin gone to sit flat. We're 2 o'clock. We're 2 o'clock. What was I going to play with? This guy. This guy. I wanted to Yorkshire Grit this guy. This is a hybrid. Part resin, part wood. God knows what the wood is. I think it's something I stabilized. It's got a brass insert in it. Okay. So let me pop the chuck off of here. I'll just go back up here for now. And we'll see what it looks like focus-wise. Because I'm so zoomed in, I may have to go change the focus a little bit. And we'll just sand this real quick and do a Yorkshire Grit on it. So it'll be another one that's strictly abrasive paste finish. And these just thread on, which is cool. See if that's in focus. That's pretty close to in focus. This is the stainless steel bottle stopper's mandrel and brass insert. That looks in focus, doesn't it? I don't want to get it too tight. Okay, so we're going to sand this with something real light because it's pretty smooth. It's got a little bumpiness to it in the wood piece from the stabilized wood. So let's start out. Let's start out with 120 on this because I want to smooth this down just a little bit, and I'm going to bump back down to 500 and back into reverse. Get my warning. We'll just clean this guy up a little bit. It's been I turned this a long time ago. So we'll see if we can't clean it up a bit. Flatten it out. Yeah, there's a tool mark there. We get rid of that. Tool mark down in there. Let's see. Let's use this toothbrush. It drops right down in there. Again, I'm not going to get carried away with it. The bottom here, this is where it was kind of rough. There's a hole in it, that's why it's kind of rough. And there's a hole right there as well that they didn't get fully filled. It was just an afterthought again, pouring in leftover resin off. But you get a nice little piece out of it. So now we're just strictly working with Yorkshire Grit and some sandpaper, some Indasa sandpaper. So that was 120. Jump up to, here's my other papers. Nobody likes to watch anybody sand, so that's why I say I'm not going to spend a long time sanding on this. The one thing, so this has a couple of holes in it, and that's the only thing with the Yorkshire grits using the abrasive paste. If you have a void, you're going to get the paste in it. Now I could take the time and fill those voids with super glue, which would be the optimum thing to do. They're not very big. But I don't have it all handy right here. But that's what I would do on this piece. I would fill those with super glue real quick. And that would take care of it getting in there. Just like if you're doing a natural edge piece, a natural edge bowl and abrasive paste don't go well together. Nor does like the 3M system. Any compounds in a natural edge or anything with voids or edges and irregularities, the pastes are not the best choice, because even if you clean it off and you think it's all gone, you'll end up having it turn white after a while. Early on, I had a piece that I had finished with lacquer and polished with the 3M system, and I had it in a gallery in Atlanta. And when I took it to the gallery, it didn't have any white powder color on it, right? And when I went into the gallery one day to kind of just take a look at my stuff and check in, I saw the piece and it had this white all around the bark rim. And I said, oh, well, I got to take that home and fix that. So I learned my lesson quickly not to do that. Or be very, very careful. All right, let's see how this guy's looking. All things considered, pretty good. I'll switch you back over to the overhead, and we'll go with the Yorkshire Grit Original to start. It should take, I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to spend a long time sanding on it. It should, for the most part, take those sanding marks out. This is like a fire in it, in that resin. And again, I don't have any idea what the wood is. No idea whatsoever. I have such a treasure trove out behind the studio and the shop here of unknowns. Paper towel, 500 RPM. We'll work that first coat, and then I'll put another one on while it's spinning by hand. I've got another piece I want to do over here too. Kind of curious to see. Fold this over. Load it back up. I pulled out a couple of different pieces to play with, depending on the time that we have. Work down in the grooves all real nice. Okay, fresh paper towel. Good thing I brought out a whole new roll. Let's see what that looks like. Pretty doggone good. Again, I don't know what the wood is. I'm going to flip-flop you here. Oops. So the top is all resin, and then the bottom is all wood. And this, again, is just leftover from a pour. Okay. So one more buffing off the excess, and then we'll switch over. Close that up. One more fresh paper towel. Okay, and we'll stop, and we'll throw in the micro. It is really fast. So, I mean, this is a nice fast way. And again, I didn't even, as you saw, I didn't really, sand it to any crazy degree. So if you're selling bottle stoppers at an art fair, this is the way to put a finish on. You can do it right there in front of people. If you've got a mini lathe at the art festival that you're selling at, turn your bottle stoppers and polish them right in front of them. They see it made. They'll be all over it. All right, one more dose. And then I'll take a clean one, turn the speed up, give this a little buffing. Let's take her up to 1,020. That'll kind of buff it. Be careful you don't overheat. If it's something thin or fragile, you can overheat with the friction. And voila, you have a nice hybrid stopper with a nice reasonable finish without much work. And probably don't even have to spend that much time on them realistically if you're doing bottle stoppers and selling them inexpensively. So that piece is pretty cool. It's always handy to have extra pieces hanging around. There's an overview of the top. Worked out well. All right, one other one that I had over here that I was thinking about playing with. This is another leftover type of thing. It's got the brass threads in it. I'm not sure if they've got junk in them or not. Looks like they might have junk in them. This one may not want to thread on here. No, that one's got, there's something, I got epoxy up into threads. That's my bad. So that one we don't get to play with. But this one here, so here's another, this is kind of a test. This has lacquer on it, okay? So I haven't sanded it, but I'm going to sand it with something really nice and fine. Back down to 500. And then we'll polish it with Yorkshire Grit. And so this will be Yorkshire Grit on lacquer. Something I actually haven't tried. This is the first time I've tried it. This one's been laying around in the drawer over here for a long time. Now it's a hybrid piece. It's I know what the wood in this is. It's pecan root burl from out here in the backyard. My pecan trees grow these little burls down right at the dirt level. And then they break off and they just kind of roll around. So when I'm out doing the flower beds, I collect them up. And that's a pretty big groove there, so we might just sand that in there. So we're not cutting all the way through the lacquer. We're just cutting it back, which is what I do with a lacquer finish anyway. I cut it back with 220. Then I spray another coat on. Now, what will give you trouble is the little groove right here. I'm going to do it anyway, then I'll use a toothbrush to clean it out, and we'll see what happens later on. So that's now, and you can see even there's some little pock marks down in here. The sanding dust got down in there. Okay. But since this is pretty smooth and the lacquer's pretty smooth, I'm just going to go straight to the microfine. All right, I'm not going to even use the regular. Like I said, I know I'm going to get it in the groove, and we'll just have to clean that out. So this again is lacquer. It's a couple of coats of lacquer and just cut it back with looks like 220. I'm turning about 500 right now. Now, if I don't like the look of it, I can jump in. I can always jump over and hit it with the Yorkshire Grit Original if I don't like the look of what I got. And you can feel it in your hand. You can feel how smooth it is or isn't. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my ice pick. I'm going to use it to get that, with the paper towel, get that extra compound out of that groove right there as much as I can before I come in with the toothbrush. Because the toothbrush, you can You know, it'll take it out, but it can actually put little teeny micro scratches on there. And now I'm going to turn the speed up and polish it. So one thing the lacquer would do if you used enough of it and then cut it back, was you could fill the voids so that comes out quite nice as well. So the lacquer gives you a little more depth because you've put another layer of clear, or a couple of layers of clear on top of it. And then we just sanded it lightly and then polished it with the Yorkshire Grit. And that's a nice finish. This is, again, is a hybrid. So a lot of things you can do with the Yorkshire Grit. And I'm going to pop up here. I'm going to turn off the overlay. Pop up here. I hear my phone blowing up. Yorkshire Grit is, like I said, with our spring sale that starts tomorrow. It will be on sale, and it's 15% off. And we have the regular, we have them individually, and then SpiracraFT also has what we call the 2 grit kit, which is about 5% less than buy them individually. And so you actually be saving about 20% on a 2 grit kit. So that was fun. You know, here's old bottle stopper hanging out. It's going to look gray in the picture because of the chroma key. But I hope you enjoyed our feature today, which was our little turquoise and gold cup, which looks really teeny sitting here next to me. You can't even see it. Well, a little early today, 2:25. Sometimes I usually go to 3, but I kind of went through what I was planning on today. So I do appreciate everybody coming by. If anybody's got any questions, it's here. Pop a question in there, and if not, we'll give it a minute or two, and then we'll wrap it up. I'll hit the outro music, and hope everybody has a good 420. And we'll be back next week with a new fun project. You never know what I'm going to come up with. I keep wanting to do a natural edge from some green pecan I've got out there in the yard. I keep not getting around to grabbing the chainsaw. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. Glad you joined in today. Always like having you here. Appreciate the coming in and helping out with the monitoring in the chat room, chat column there. So everything is good to go. Again, SpiracraFT is having a sale for 10 days till the end of the month. Check it out on SpiracraFT.com. And I believe I will hit the number 6 button and call it a day. I'll see you all next week. Thank you very much. Take care. Enjoy your weekend.